I never thought I'd find myself sitting in a coffee shop at 62 years old, feeling butterflies like a schoolgirl. But there I was, watching Harold walk through the door, and my heart did that little skip it hadn't done in decades. We'd met at the community center 3 months earlier. I was volunteering at the book sale, and he was looking for something on woodworking. Our hands touched, reaching for the same worn copy of a gardening magazine, and we both laughed. It was such a small moment, but somehow it felt significant. Harold wasn't what you'd call classically handsome. He had kind eyes, the sort that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. His hair was mostly gray, and he wore practical clothes, flannel shirts, and comfortable jeans. But there was something about him that drew me in. A gentleness. A quiet strength. After my husband Robert passed 5 years ago, I thought that chapter of my life was closed. Robert and I had 40 good years together. We raised 3 children, weathered storms, celebrated victories. When he died, a part of me died too. Or so I thought. My daughter Linda kept telling me I should get out more, meet people, live again. I'd smile and nod, but inside I felt like I was just going through the motions. Then Harold came along, and suddenly the world had color again. Our first real conversation lasted 2 hours. We talked about everything and nothing. He told me about his late wife, Catherine, how she battled illness with grace and courage. I told him about Robert, about the quiet mornings we'd shared over coffee, about how I still set 2 cups out sometimes before remembering. We didn't rush anything. At our age, there's no need to rush. We started taking walks together in the park. He'd point out different types of trees, and I'd share stories about the neighborhood families I'd watched grow up over the years. We'd sit on benches and watch children play, remembering when our own kids were small. One evening, about 6 weeks into our friendship, something shifted. We were sitting on my porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Harold reached over and took my hand. It was such a simple gesture, but I felt it everywhere. His hand was warm and rough from years of working with wood, and it fit perfectly with mine. "Eleanor," he said softly, and the way he said my name made my breath catch. "I hope you know how special you are to me." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something in his eyes that made my pulse quicken. It wasn't just affection or friendship. It was desire. Not the wild, consuming passion of youth, but something deeper. Something that recognized the whole person, scars and all, and wanted them anyway. "Harold," I whispered, "I feel it too." He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away if I wanted to. But I didn't want to. When his lips touched mine, it was gentle and sweet and absolutely perfect. When we pulled apart, we both had tears in our eyes. "I wasn't sure I'd ever feel this way again," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "Neither was I said, squeezing his hand. "I thought I was done with all of this. But here's what I learned in those months with Harold. Love doesn't have an expiration date. The capacity to feel deeply, to want and be wanted, to experience that flutter of excitement. When someone special walks into a room, that doesn't disappear just because you've got gray hair and reading glasses. What I felt with Harold was different from what I'd had with Robert, but no less real. It was informed by experience, tempered by loss, and rich by understanding. We both knew how precious and fragile life was. We both loved and lost. We knew that nothing is guaranteed, that every moment together is a gift, that our physical relationship developed naturally without pressure or expectation. There was a tenderness to it that took my breath away. Harold treated me like I was something precious. He traced the lines of my face with his fingers, telling me I was beautiful. And when he looked at me like that, I believed him. I'm not naive. I know what some people might think, that we're too old for romance, that we should just be content with companionship. But those people don't understand that the heart doesn't age the way the body does. Inside, I still feel like me. I still want to be held, to be desired, to feel that electric connection with another person. One afternoon, Harold and I were in his workshop. He was showing me a rocking chair he'd been making for his grandson. As he explained the joinery, I found myself watching his hands, remembering how they felt on my skin. He caught me staring and smiled that knowing smile. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, moving closer. "You," I admitted, feeling warmth spread through me. "Us, how unexpected this all is." He pulled me into his arms, and I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "Life's full of surprises," he murmured into my hair, "even at our age." My children were surprised but supportive. Linda said she hadn't seen me this happy in years. My son Thomas was more cautious, worried that I was moving too fast, that I might get hurt. I understood his concern, but I also knew something he was still learning. Life is too short to play it safe. Harold and I talked about everything, including the physical side of our relationship. We were both nervous at first. Our bodies weren't what they used to be, but we discovered that intimacy at this stage of life has its own beauty. It's less about performance and more about connection. It's about taking time, about gentleness, about laughter when things don't go exactly as planned. What surprised me most was how alive I felt, how desired, how desirable. Society has a way of making older people feel invisible, especially older women. But in Harold's eyes, I was seen, truly seen, and wanted. We'd spend lazy Sunday mornings in bed, talking and touching and simply being together. He'd tell me I was beautiful, and I'd believe him because I could see the truth of it in his eyes. Not the beauty of youth, but the beauty of a life well lived, written in laugh lines and age spots and silver hair. Sometimes I'd think about Robert, and I'd feel a momentary pang of guilt. But then I'd remember something he said to me near the end. "Eleanor, when I'm gone, don't stop living. Promise me you'll find joy wherever you can." This was joy. This was living. Harold and I decided to take a trip together, just the two of us. We rented a cabin by a lake, spent our days reading and walking, and simply enjoying each other's company. At night, we'd sit by the fire, his arm around me, and I'd think about how lucky I was to have found this again. One night at the cabin, Harold looked at me seriously. "Eleanor, I know we're both old enough to know better, but I need to tell you. I love you. Completely. Fully. Everything about you." I kissed him then, long and deep, trying to convey everything I felt. When we finally pulled apart, I said, "I love you too, Harold. And I'm not afraid of it anymore." Because that's what I realized. I'd been afraid. Afraid to love again. Afraid to be vulnerable. Afraid to feel that much, because I knew how much it could hurt to lose it. That loving Harold, being loved by him, was worth the risk. We're talking about moving in together now. At our age, why wait? Life is uncertain, and we want to spend as much of it together as we can. My friends ask if we're going to get married, and we just smile. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. What matters is the commitment we've made to each other. What I've learned is this: it's never too late for love. It's never too late to feel desired and desirable. It's never too late to experience that wonderful, terrifying, exhilarating feeling of falling for someone. Age is just a number. The heart knows no timeline. Harold makes me feel young again. Not because he erases the years, but because he makes me remember that inside this older body, I'm still me. Still capable of passion, still hungry for connection, still wanting to be wanted. And what I want, what I feel with Harold, is bigger and stronger and beyond anything I ever knew before. Because it's informed by everything I've lived through. Every joy, every sorrow, every lesson learned. This love is built on a foundation of experience and understanding that only comes with time. So yes, at 62, I'm in love. Deeply, fully, passionately in love. And I wouldn't change it for anything.